Hi, welcome to the latest in IR Magazine's Women in IR video series. Today we're joined by Suzanne Mestayer from 30North Investments. Thanks for joining us, Suzanne.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Now, 30North Investments recently conducted a research project into gender diversity in the boardroom at hundreds of US companies, looking at their performance over a 10-year period. Can you tell me a little bit about how you put the research together and what the key findings are?
Yes, we were focused on the larger U.S. companies and trying to see their relative performance based upon their level of gender diversity at the top of those companies. So we began our research with the S&P 500. We eliminated those companies in which there was a corporate action over the past 10 years that would have prevented them from having a full 10-year track record. And then we measured their performance based upon the percentage of women that they had at the top. What we found was that on an overall basis of this universe of companies, all of the board seats, 14% were occupied by women. And 33 of the companies, or roughly 10% of them, had no women on their boards 10 years ago. So our conclusion from this research was that, in fact, those companies that had the greater levels of gender diversity at the top outperformed from a stock performance basis, outperformed their peers with fewer or no women in corporate leadership.
Now, we often hear when talking about diversity that it isn't a tick box exercise, and the importance of having more than one woman on board, in boards, for instance. I know that you divided your research up into 3 different categories, and so can you tell me a little bit about that and the kind of results of those companies who had, for instance, more than 25% female representation at board level?
Yes, we set up 3 categories for this research. One category were those companies that had no women on their boards. The second category were those companies that had at least one woman on their board. And then the third category, which is a subset of the second, are those companies that had 25% or more women on their board. And the research demonstrated or concluded that as you increase the percentage of women, that the stock performance over a long period of time actually was higher with the higher levels of gender diversity.
Now, at 30North Investments, you've developed your own impact investing arm to focus on boardroom diversity. What motivated you to start it, and what are you looking at when making your investment decisions?
We do have a women's strategy. It's gender lens. It's called our Women Impact Strategy. And what motivated us to get into this is twofold. First, as an independent, women-owned firm, but also as women who have come out of corporate leadership, as well as having served on many boards over many years. Our personal experiences really motivated us to do this. It's a deeply personal topic to us because of our experiences. And then secondly, also the research made it obvious that it would be a good investment strategy for others to assume. And so those were the motivators of our strategy. So the process of how we crafted the portfolio is that we began looking at companies across a broader universe than our research paper. We included companies in small, mid, and large cap spaces. So our benchmark is the Russell 3000. And we selected those companies that we knew had higher numbers of gender diversity at the top. And we stack ranked them on performance indicators and gender indicators. And so, for instance, the first ranking of those companies depended upon their profitability trends, their valuation, and their capitalization amounts. Because what we are looking for are quality earnings for a reasonable price from these companies. And then once we put them through that screen, then we added the gender lens. And so we only include companies that have at least 20% of women on their boards and at least one woman in their C-suite. One, only because some of these C-suites are only 5 people. And so one is a 20% representation. We also then apply a sector overlay because we don't want to be taking sector bets. There are real differences among sectors as to the percentage of women. And so we apply a sector-based approach so that we're sector neutral. And we select the top 50 companies. And in those top 50 that are currently in our portfolio, We seeded the portfolio in April of last year, but the current portfolio includes 33% women on the boards, which is twice the number that is in the Russell 3000 in general, and 26% of the C-suite executives are women, which is also about twice as many in that category. So we're very proud of the diversity of the 50 companies that we have selected. Our goal in doing this is not just to create or elevate the attention to this topic, but it's also to create a strategy that fills the need of people who are looking to align their values with their investments. It's a very growing trend in the investment arena these days.
Sure.
And we also have as a very strong goal to turn on its head the concept that if you want to make an investment for impact purposes, that you naturally have to give up something on investment return. What we're striving to demonstrate is that financial returns do not need to take a back seat to making impact investments and accomplishing something in that arena as well.
Sure, sure. Now, as you know, recent IR magazine research showed that women in the IR profession are less likely to earn over $250,000 compared to their male counterparts in the US, and are less likely to get the very top jobs in the United States. As an investor, and as you think about diversity as a whole throughout the organization, how important is it to strive towards gender parity across organizations and in the IR role?
Well, we're strong supporters of gender equality and gender inclusiveness across all industries and all professions. So we're right on board in that regard. And let me point out, it's not just because of the social equity, it's because of the benefits. And there are many benefits, but I'd like to talk about just 3 of them in particular.
Sure.
One is the difference in the decision-making process. Women come to the table with a different perspective on things. And we believe that really enriches the discussion and the decision-making process of any organization. Secondly, the more women you have at the top, the more it changes the culture and the believability for younger women or women in junior positions that they too can set the goal to go up the ranks and to participate at those higher levels. So we are strong believers that this assists with talent retention, which is critically important in this day and age to retain your very best people. And then, of course, all these organizations, all industries are producing products or services that have women as their consumers. And to have women at the top really influences the delivery of those products and services. So we believe all the way around there's tremendous benefit by opening up and making certain that there is good gender diversity at the top of organizations.
Sure, sure. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Suzanne. Best of luck with the impact investment arm, and thank you for sharing your research with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.